it gets a little bit easier for you. At least it gets a bit easier for you on Friday, though, doesn't it?
Yeah, and you got Haverley.
Do you want me to come and play?
Well, I can't get you registered, Keith.
I couldn't play anyway, mate. I've only got one leg. And I'm going away.
I'm trying to think which one of those would stop you getting in the squad. Probably actually not being there would be a struggle.
Brilliant.
Yeah, got Haverley and then Brentwood. Good Friday, or not very good Friday, I guess it might be. Then Easter Monday, but I'm hoping we get a good crowd Friday.
Yeah.
We're only doing one golden goal ticket.
No use sharing it to the Isthmian site because they don't allow it to go on there. So
don't they?
Still block me. Yeah, I don't know why.
That's because I think change it around, put K&D show. They'll do it then. They like me.
Yeah. If you want your printer sorted out.
Oh, don't say that. I'll never mix business with anything else, Dave. I spoke with Kelly last week. She was good as gold.
Yeah, no, they are. It's just I don't know why he's blocked on there, but Ian keeps telling me that it's not. But every time you try and share it on there, it comes up not allowed. So I don't know what's gone on.
Might be just saying that they might. Yeah.
I do see it shared in quite a lot of places. It does. Yeah. It does the rounds, the publicity, doesn't it? Yeah. On Twitter and Facebook, and
I do try.
People share it, and I sort of listening to the show recently. You've sort of spread your net a little wider as well, haven't you? You know, you've had people on from sort of other leagues and what have you, and referees and physios and coaches, and
that's what it is. You just trying to get it out as much as possible to different people, and hopefully it's people sort of pick it up as such, you know.
Dave's going to be the new ambassador at the Southern League. Then it's going to be the Conference League. Then he's looking to get into Germany.
Yeah.
Going wide, Dave, isn't you?
Absolutely, mate. Trying my best. Trying my best to do it, I'll be honest. The more I can do, the better. Just to get it out there.
What have you been doing, Keith? Just taking it easy? Been watching games, or have you sort of stepped back and just had some family time? Or?
I'm doing that tomorrow. I'm going on holiday tomorrow with the family. I've had enough. So going to Turkey. No, had a bad few times, a bit of family or personal issue, and obviously with what happened at Whitstable and a few others, and then you're still stuck in it. Steve, like I said, I was getting some stupid messages about, just people trying to tarnish your reputation at the weekend. But no, last week I went and watched VCD Ashford. That was a really, good game. And then Saturday I went to Ramsgate and watched them play Haywards Heath. It was first time I've been at Ramsgate since they had the 3G. It was quite surprising as it goes. They'd done the free to get in. Me and Vicky, Mrs. went with my little son Daniel, and it wasn't a bad game, to be honest.
I think sometimes you just have to. I mean, I know it's a little bit glib after sort of our season, but you do sometimes have to just put football in its box, don't you? And sort of say, right, okay, in the whole scale of priorities in the world, normally it's sort of family, health, job, and they're normally the sort of the first three for people, and when it comes down to it, it's not. As I said on Twitter, yesterday, there's worse things going on in the world. Didn't feel like it at 5 o'clock on Saturday, and for most of Sunday. But sort of the reality is, it's, it is what it is. You've got to move on.
Yeah.
Right, let's get started. Well, welcome to the D&K Reposs Non League show. We're here for the next hour, and as you can see, if Heineken could do good Monday nights, we've got a good Monday night because we've got two of my closest mates on the show tonight, so it's fantastic. So, of course, joining me as usual, of course, he's the living legend himself, Mr. Keith McMahon. And how are you, sir?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you, Dave.
Good. And of course, the man at the bottom, and we're talking about Heineken. If Heineken could do chairman, there he is sitting right there, because the man is an absolute legend. Doesn't get enough praise to what he deserves, because he's absolutely a dynamite guy, dynamite chairman in a dynamite football club. And we welcome, of course, Steve, chairman of Romford. How are you, mate?
I almost want to log off now, Dave. It's not going to get any better than that. I'm good, thanks. You all right, Keith?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. They're actually saying if Heineken did do anything, you wouldn't mind a few barrels sent your way, which I think. So if you are listening, anyone from a brewery, and you want to be nice, just Steve, send your postcode and ship a few down.
Listen, Steve, I mean, we know it's probably not the best night for you to come on, and I know I've seen it we've seen it on your Romford bits and bobs that I'm a part of. But listen, mate, it was one of those days, shall we say, bad day on Saturday. But I mean, with the football club itself, I mean, how are you feeling? How is the football club feeling? Of course, we finally sort of lost you from step 4, which is a disaster for us. So I mean, how's everything at the football club?
Yeah, trying to be philosophical about it. I mean, our sort of future was written a few weeks ago. I think we knew that we were probably destined to go down 5 or 6 weeks ago. I mean, we've struggled all season. We haven't suddenly become bottom of the table. We've been bottom of the table for a long time. We've taken some heavy defeats, and as they say, the table doesn't lie. We're bottom, and we're bottom for a reason. It pains me to say it, and I love all the players that we've had, coaches and managers, but the grim reality is we just haven't been good enough this year. It's a competitive league. Step 4 is very, very competitive, and you need to have the resources to compete with it. But for the last 11 years, we have competed. We've got away by the skin of our teeth. Last 2 seasons didn't get finished. Season before, we escaped because someone up north went bust, and the season before we did it on the last day with 6 minutes to go. So I won't say it's not a surprise, but we've been punching above our weight for a long time, and I think everyone at the club understands that and knows that.
Go on, Keith.
No, so with that, and like I said, Dave's been, really sort of honest, and I think what a lot of people are feeling, and what he said about Romford, and like I said, we do know you. We spoke to you a lot. I know some of the managers, I know some of the players as well. I said I know your goalkeeper really well. I see Rob's tweet as well, which I feel for him. But with them 11 years that you've been in step 4, just we'll talk about step 5 and what the future holds for the club in a little while, Steve. But just tell people the sort of ride you've had, and there's been a lot more ups and downs. I said it hasn't been disrespectful to say you have been punching it at your weight, but being a grand share for them time as well was always putting you behind the 8 ball from day one, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. I mean, I was trying to work out the other day if there's any club sort of as a tenant in step 3. And I can't think of any, but if there are any, I'm sure someone will message you on Facebook. I think it's fair to say that if you're ground sharing and you're the tenant, well, I must give a shout out to Grays Athletic, but generally speaking, it's a tough road because you're probably not quite playing in your area. You're getting no money from the bar. You're not getting any money from the food concessions. You're not making any money if there's a 3G surface. You're not making any money on kids' parties, Christmas parties, weddings, or anything else. You can normally only run one team, which we do. We don't run the reserves, 23s, 18s, or anything like that. And it is tougher. And I think most people that are tenants in a ground share would agree it's tough. And I guess most landlords would agree. I mean, if you think about it, we ground share with Barking. We're bottom. Barking are one but bottom. But, and we get on very well with them, and they're lovely people. But we've sponsored their budget this season. I mean, they might see it a different way and that they've spent their money on other things. But when you're ground sharing, you're paying for that privilege, and that money gets used how the club sees fit. And some of that may filter down to players and what have you.
Yeah, I just going to what you said, step through. There is one club, obviously, which has been doing it for 20 odd years in Grey Wanderers, which obviously are looking for their ground. Hopefully, I know its work has started because I drove past it the other day a little bit more, but it is so difficult. And you are right. And I know, obviously, again, no disrespect, Crayon may be a little bit more financial, better off than what Romford are. It is. You can see. You look over the history. How many ground shares, different places you've been to since you've been in Step 4, Steve?
Next season's our 30th year since we reformed, and all of those years we've been ground sharing. So we started off at Hornchurch, then we went to Ford United, then we went to Collier Row, then we went back to Ford United, then we went to Aveley. Then we went to Thurrock, then we had a year at East Thurrock, and now we're at Barking. So all that time that you're moving about, you're not increasing your supporter base. And at this level, non-league clubs, it's identity. That's what you are. It's your identity. You've got, non-league football is local football, isn't it? And for most people that support it, they probably go to their local club. For me, that's the tradition of non-league football. You walk up the road or you're a mile away or whatever. I mean, there are people that move and still follow their club, but generally I would imagine most of the clubs, certainly in our division, most of the people that are going to watch them are probably within a 4 or 5 mile radius of the ground. But when you're playing at a ground that's further away, I mean, when we was at East Thurrock, I think East Thurrock from Romford is sort of 16, 17 miles. So when you're asking local school kids to come over or you're asking people to pop over, it makes it difficult. But going back to what you were saying for the 11 years, it's got harder each year because I think there's probably more money involved in the game. And although it's something sort of that I've got to reconcile, we understand that we can't get the better players, and when we do get players and they become better players, they then go. And of course, you've then got the travelling, haven't you? So if somebody's going to get no money playing for Romford, they've got to go to Sudbury, and they've got to go to Felixstowe, and they've got to go to Dereham, they've got to go to all those places. If you're not going to get paid, you might as well go and play for your local side and probably save 3 or 4 hours in the journey. That said, I've loved more than I've not loved. We've met some incredible people. Some of the messages that I've had over the last sort of 48 hours have been really sort of like humbling, even from supporters from other clubs, sort of saying, we love it when Romford come to us. And, another manager said, look, if you need some players next year, we'll sort you out some players. And it's been really, really nice. So I think we're going to find our level. Hopefully that level is step 5 for now. But for now, we say goodbye to step 4. And, I think most of our supporters are saying, although it is a shame, we don't want to go for another season like this season. We haven't won a game since October. I mean, you think how long ago that is. I haven't won a game since October. We've only won 3 all season. We've just been beaten 13-0. We've lost 8-0. I think we've lost 7-0 4 times and what have you. Who's enjoying that? Players aren't enjoying it. I'm not enjoying it. Supporters aren't enjoying it. And we're now sort of getting to a stage where we're only getting 60 or 70 at the game. So we've got to build it back up again. And although there will be people at step 5 with budgets, hopefully it'll be more of a level playing field, and the difference between sort of no budget and what teams might be paying might be smaller. So sort of for next year, everyone's sort of saying, no, look, let's go back to enjoying our football, which is what it's all about.
But I get what you're saying, but you do say, that you need to build. And, I can say that, obviously, I was at Whitstable and we was, took over a point, we were at the bottom. And in the background, I was looking in case, what happens if, but we had a reserves. We had youngsters that, I earmarked 6 or 7 of them maybe for the next season. If the worst scenario would happen, you could bring them through more. You've just sort of said, you've got no reserves because you're ground share and things like that. How do you attract these young lads to Romford when you're not playing in Romford? You're struggling already, isn't it? It is that hard for you.
It is. But I mean, I think we're looking to sort of get into a position where, although they won't you won't be able to play at sort of the ground that we play up, but sort of having some sort of link up with local clubs, maybe a junior team or a junior club where they've got teams all the way up, and you can sort of take some of those players at 18 or 19, because for somebody like Romford and teams that don't have budgets or have big budgets, you want people to buy into your club. So if somebody comes and sort of says to them, look, we want you to come and play for our club. They say, well, no, I've been at Romford for 8 years now. I'm just breaking into the first team. I want a season here. I want a season to see what I can do at my club. And that's what we've got to do. We've got to build up an ethos where people, not just in the first team, want to be involved. Now, we've run an academy side this year, but we've had another club helping us run it. And what we've got to do, we've got to get to a stage where we have a better identity with sort of local youth, so that people really want to come and play for Romford, and actually where they're playing, what division they're in, whether there's any money or not, is almost secondary. The main thing they want to do is pull on that shirt with your team badge on.
Have you thought about as well, sorry Dave, if you thought about now so you're dropping into step 5, looking at a ground a little bit closer to home, which don't need the maybe the ground grading as much as step 4, and as you just said, trying to build that identity with Romford, maybe that you stay in it for a year or so, I don't know, but is that something that's you also thought about?
I think when we was looking at, we've been happy. I mean, there are some things with Barking that we'd obviously like to change. I mean, the car park's been a COVID centre for the last 3 years, which obviously doesn't make parking particularly easy. I think the problem
you could have always put on the bottom of the questionnaire, do you play football?
Yeah, could have done. Yeah. At least they might not have been marked too closely, might they? But I think one of the things that we've looked at is, have we been happy at Barking? And I think sort of in the main, they've been good to us. They're good football people over there. Keith and Rob and all the guys over there. I think the other thing as well is you've got to go into a ground share deal, and you'll probably be aware of this as well, Keith, with 100% the people that you're going to share with want you. And that's everyone. It's no good the chairman wanting you because he wants the money. You got to make sure that groundsman wants you, and that assistant manager wants you, and people like that. And I think the danger of sharing somewhere that was suitable for step 5 football is if, and I know it's a big if, but if we got, hang on, sorry.
It's just froze for a minute and the cat's gone through.
Yeah, sorry about that. My Kurt Zuma moment. I was going to say, I did place her down very gently.
Yeah, we see that, don't we?
What I was going to say is that if we shared somewhere that was good enough for step 5 but not step 4, as you know, you can't then go and move just to get promotion. So if we share a Barking, which is good enough for step 4 and good enough for step 5, should we get to a stage where we want to go up to step 4 again, then you've got the ground. And also what we don't want to do is go too far away. I personally prefer sort of when we travel to Essex or stay in Essex, even if you're going to say somewhere like Heybridge Swifts, which might be 30 miles away, it's a much better journey than trying to get into London. So sort of we've not sort of explored too many options of ground sharing sort of London way, because where we are, especially now with the ULEZ charge and everything, it just makes it more difficult. So for us at the moment, Barking's our place to be, but of course we're still chasing the dream with regards to Project Westlands.
Dave, take yourself off mute.
Sorry, mate. Yeah.
How long have we been doing this show?
No, that's because the dog was squeaking a toy in the background. Just you got to get.
That's because the cat was there.
Yeah.
Has that, literally, is that how has that affected the situation? With the new ground now, is that still sort of, as you just said, is it still sort of all going?
We're talking to a couple of different people that have expressed an interest, and we've held talks with a couple of different parties. And I think we're getting to the time now where, it's getting quite serious in as much as they're serious about it. You know, we obviously get lots of people saying, oh, we might be interested in investing in the club, or we might be invested in bringing football back to Romford, and you perhaps have a meeting with them and then you don't hear anything else. But people we're talking to at the moment, we've had series of meetings, and they're keen. You know, they've got business plans. You know, they like what we're trying to do, and I think most people would agree that if you get it right, being in a town like Romford, there is the potential to pull in quite a bit of support. You know, we're a big town. Westlands is on a main road, sort of, you know, mile from the station. It's on a bus route. It's on the footprint of a school. You know, it's probably exactly where you'd want to build a ground if you was building a ground in and around Romford. So, you know, we're not giving up on that. You know, we are talking to people, but of course, the situation with COVID's sort of, you know, knocked things out, and it's difficult to sort of get meetings with the council at the moment. But we're still hopeful that we can drive that forward, and that's one of the reasons why sort of Colin and I are still sort of, you know, happy to go again next year, is because we believe that there is still a possibility of bringing sort of senior football back to Romford in their own facility.
I suppose what you were saying, what Keith said about ground sharing, because the other problem if he didn't stay at Barking and he went somewhere else, of course, it might mean he might not be in the Essex Senior League next year. You could be in somewhere else, which could then mean like a massive load of travel.
Yeah, it could do. I mean, ground sharing tends to be based on where you're playing at the time, rather than sort of, you know, where your town is. I know sort of before, when we was at Thurrock, we were looking at possibly, you know, if we've gone all the way to Thurrock, could we pop over the bridge and perhaps play somewhere then? But of course, that would have probably put us in the sort of the Isthmian southeast, and probably now be looking at life in the Skeffel probably. And
similar to what Tower Hamlets, what happened with them at Phoenix.
And nothing wrong with those divisions at all, but when you look at the travelling from Romford, those furthest flung places, it probably would be the same as going to sort of, you know, Dereham and, you know, places like Felixstowe and Sudbury, because you'd be doing quite, I don't know all the distances, but, you know, teams like Hastings and what have you, you know, that's a fair old sort of journey from Romford.
I mean, with the actual playing staff though, Steve, I mean, has there been a lot of turnover this year? I mean, I know you normally do get quite a bit of turnover. I mean, has there been
I've just sent the Isthmian League £662 for the second half of my registrations for this season. So, I mean, that gives you an idea. I mean, I don't know if it was true or not, but somebody said we've signed over 100 players this season. And again, if you look on football web pages at how many players teams have had, you'll always find the teams that are struggling have signed 70 or 80 players, and the teams that are sort of about to win the league or be in the playoffs have probably only had 30 players or 35 players. And continuity is something that you're looking for, but you're also looking for players that are good. And that's the trouble. If you get players coming in and they're not better than the players that you've got, then the chances are you're going to try again to improve them. But if you've got good players, then you're bringing in players that you know, aren't you? Teams with money are going after players. They say, we want you to come and play for you because we know about you. A lot of the players that we're getting have possibly sort of, you know, they're below the radar because they've not even played step 5 yet. So it's a challenge, but it's not one where we've known any different.
Yeah. And as you said, you've got Averley, Brentwood, then finish with Whittam at home.
Yeah. The only thing that I will say is, although sort of after Saturday, sort of, you know, you might be keeping you awake with sort of Averley and Brentwood, but when you look at what those fixtures represent, I'd rather that than 3 dead rubbers. So we're playing the team that's going, Averley going to try and win the league, aren't they? That's what they're looking at. Brentwood are looking to consolidate a home draw in the playoffs, and Whittam might have to beat us to stay up.
Yeah.
So, while we're doing that, David, I think it's really interesting for people watching now that you look at the ups and downs in every league, because I looked at it yesterday, especially obviously I'm more interested in the relegation battle, obviously, because of my time at Whitstable. You know, I'm desperate for them to stay up. And I was looking at the third from bottom place in the Step 4 leagues. Obviously, you're looking at Whittam now with 29 points. And I you know, someone may correct me here, but I looked at the 8 leagues, and the top 2 points per game, third but bottom, stay up, don't they? And at the moment, the South East Division is joint top. They're in the top 2. If the league finished now with, I think, Lancing on 33 points. And I looked at, obviously, you know, I know Whittam's on 29. I think there's one. I think one of the northern teams have got 33 as well, with maybe a slightly better goal difference. And you've got to be looking at that at the moment if you're in them bottom sort of few positions. And I know, like I said, Phoenix and Whitstable are sitting there with 30 points, only 3 behind. And I know I've looked in the South. I think the South Division as well. I think that they're struggling there. So I think a lot of teams around the bottom as well are looking at games where they can get points from. And I think if Whittam obviously can pick a couple of points up, or Barking, they'll be looking at that point where maybe, you know, you don't go in the playoff because you won't know who you're playing in the playoff, I think, as well. Because I think if I'm right, and I think the Essex Senior and the Skeffel League are in the top 2. I think the top 2 in the Skeffel League have already been promoted because of the points per game. I think Walthamstow have been promoted champions, but aren't second place as well in the top 8 or whatever of that league.
Yeah, my understanding was the top 2 in the Essex Senior League will go up, and then the third from, I think it's something like of the step 4 leagues, there's 8, and I think it's something like 5 of them will have to go in a playoff.
6.
Or is it 6? Is it? And they'll have to go in against the playoff against the 6th best third base team. So it's not a given that it would be our league and then the Essex Senior League. It could be another league, and then I think the higher placed team, step 4 team, they're at home, and then it's just literally just a one-off game, winner takes all.
Right, the way I see it, there's if I'm right, it's 16 leagues, isn't it? The step 5.
Yeah.
The top team in everyone's automatically promoted, and then if I'm right, the 8 teams, or is it 10 teams or whatever, in second place on points per game, automatically promoted, and the other teams play the 6 teams in third from bottom in the step 4 in a playoff, and that team at third place of step 4 is the home tie. I think I'm right with that, Dave, aren't I?
You lost me. I see.
It's like the World Cup draw.
Yeah.
Similar. But the way I try to work this out as well, Steve, because I was talking to him the other day, and obviously when I was a Whitstable, you're looking at it as well, because you want to stay up. Is that it might not be geographical as well? Because if I'm honest, if I'm right, I think the team in the combined counties second place are in the top points per game, so they'll automatically be promoted. The Essexes, the Skeffel is. So if you finish third from bottom either in the South East Division, or if you are lucky enough in say it's Whittam, you could end up playing someone quite a way away.
Yeah. And I mean, this is so that they get the pure pyramid that they're going to have next year, aren't they? Because next season,
that's exactly it.
It's so much easier. There's going to be 16 step 5 leagues, and the top 2 in those 16 leagues will get promoted. So that will be 32 coming up. And then there's 8 step 4 leagues, and the bottom 4 in all those 4 leagues will get relegated. So that was the other thing as well that I was saying to supporters. Even if we had done the Great Escape again this year, next year you've got to stay out of the bottom 4.
Yeah, it's different. I think going back also, that they have to fill in, obviously, the step 3 club that pulled out, or in the step 2 as well. But when we was in the Eastern Prem, it was the bottom 4. So it does seem quite hard, but obviously when you've got 20 teams, and obviously, you're right, it's got to film the proper pyramid anyway, and obviously 2 teams wanted to come up anyway, so from step 5. So, it had to happen one way or the other, didn't it? But I think this is the only year that it does go. But I'm normally pretty bang on with this, and I think Dave's scaring through looking.
Well, what I'm reading is just like, it's like they're saying in a PPG as it stands.
Points per game.
Yeah, the Newcastle Town are top, Lancing are next, then Cinderford Town, then Witham, then Kempston, then Lincoln United, then Histon, then Chalfont Peter.
So exactly right. So, but it's only the top two, isn't it? So it would be Lancing with the South East, and the other one's the Northern Prem team. They've both got the same points, Dave, haven't they?
Yes, it's on here. It's saying 0.943 for Lancing and Newcastle, and 9.39 for Cinderford, 8.29 Witham, 8.29 Kempston, 8.24 Lincoln, 6 Histon, and 5.
So basically, if you try and put it into points for all the teams, so if you're looking, just say for instance, you're looking at Barking and Witham, you're looking at Phoenix, Whitstable, Lancing. At the moment, Lancing have got 33 points. So Witham have got 29 on the same games. So at the moment, Witham are 4 points behind Lancing to get in that position. So if Witham need to obviously stay up, say it stayed as it was exactly to the end, Witham would need to get basically 4 points out of their last 3 games. So if you're Whitstable and Phoenix in the southern, you're 3 points behind in the southeast. You need to get, and obviously they've both got Lancing, Dave, as well, which is, for both of them. Phoenix go to Lancing on Saturday. Whitstable have got Lancing at home last game of the season. So, Phoenix have got Lancing at home. So it opens it up hugely. I think, it's still, but you can, if you're in the Eastern League, in either Witham or Barking, Phoenix or Whitstable, you've still got a good chance, if you finish third from bottom, of staying up.
Well, I've just found this thing that I was trying to look for. I knew Ollie had posted it. Might get my eyes if I can. It says here, subject to a full quota of clubs qualifying to participate, each one-off inter-club match will comprise of a team finishing third or fourth bottom in step 4 against a team finishing in second at step 5. The winning club will be allocated at step 4 for the following season, and a losing side will go into step 5 for the following season.
That's it. So there is no third place at step 5 playoff. I knew that. Yeah, it was only second. We'll get you in the playoff.
And it said where is it? The intended pairing of the clubs will be on the premises of geographical grouping, with the exact grouping being decided once the clubs eligible for the interstep playoffs is known. Once where it is grouped, the club at step 4 with the highest points per game will be paired with the club with the lowest points per game at step 5 to create a tie. The method will then be applied on a sliding scale with all clubs in their geographical group.
It's just funny, like I just explained, and Steve might know, that Essex, Skeffel, and the combined counties, so I'm looking at Kent, Surrey, if I'm right, and Essex, are all second place teams going to be promoted automatically. Yeah. So then 3 leagues are taken out the equation. So then you've got to start looking, well, where do we go next? Who's second in? What's close to the Essex senior, Dave? Is it the Furlough Nun?
Furlough Nun would, at the moment, second place at the moment, because I looked at this earlier on today because I wanted to see another club of mine that I like a lot in Wroxham are doing, and they're actually second behind Galston. So at the minute, Wroxham would be one of those ones.
Well, if they're not in the top 8 or the top 10 or whatever of their league, like I said, it's only the 6, isn't it? The bottom 6 points per game, second place at step 5, go into a playoff. Everyone else gets promoted.
Yeah.
It was something I was looking at when I first took over at Whitstable as well, sitting there thinking, hold on a minute, look, pick up your points. And like I said, we were trying to get, it worked out, we did get a point a game. And if they do that, the 30, it'll be enough. It might just be enough. And like I said, they've had 2 great results, well, 3 if you include the draw. And they've both got, like I said, Phoenix and Whitstable have got Lancing, who are sitting in that position at the moment.
Well, I looked at it. It says here as well, teams promoted, relegated in the last. Well, this was 3 days ago, so I don't know if there's anything, anything else happened over the weekend. But before the weekend, step 3, Banbury United have gone up at step 3. and Grantham Town and Wimborne Town have been relegated. Step 4, it says only Bracknell Town here, but we now know, of course, Hastings have gone up as well. And down Step 4,
we know Worthing's gone up.
Worthing, yeah, and it says on here, Kendall Town, Market Drayton, Colney Heath, Wantage Town, Romford and Staines have all been relegated. Step 5 coming up is Hanworth Villa, Walthamstow, Bishop's Cleeve, Macclesfield, Grimsby Borough, Sheppey United, Harborough Town, Hinkley LR and Hamworthy United. But of course, Chatham have gone up this weekend as well.
Chatham have gone up after they beat Erith Belvedere 10-1 at the weekend, Steve. And Erith were in the top 4 or 5 of the league as well. So, yeah, it's so confusing, Dave, if you're, you know, who you would play, even if you did get in the playoffs. But at the moment, like I said, the South East Division is in the top 2 to stay, and that's what you need to stay up. But it is so close. I think the team, I know you said Whitton, but I thought someone was on 31 points, which may be 2 behind. I'm not sure, but like I said, if either Phoenix or Whitstable, and again, apologies, Lancing, but you know, if they can get a win against Lancing and another win somewhere in their last 3 games, 2 wins, I think they'll stay up, and hopefully they will.
So if you fast forward to next season, then Step 4, you're going to have the top 5 places will be playoff, or 1 promoted and then 4 playoff. 4 go down. How many clubs won't be involved in either a push for promotion or looking over their shoulder for relegation? It's not going to be many, is it?
Is it
a couple of them?
Yeah, you are. I'm still looking at that, Steve. What you said, I'm not sure if it is the bottom 4, because I only thought it was only 1 definitely gets promoted from Step 5, and then it could be a playoff situation. I'm not. You might be right.
Our friends at Non-League Maps, which is, if anybody wants to sort of know what's going on, otherwise they're fantastic. The Non-League Maps people on Twitter, and he's just come in and said that currently the worst 6 Step 5 runners-up are away, which would be Concert NL1, North Ecclesfield United, Skirmsdale United, Boldmere St Michael, Saffron Walden Town, and Mousehole. And currently the worst 6.
Mousehole? We've had a dog, cat, and a mousehole. Who's Mousehole?
That's in Cornwall, isn't it? I think it's pronounced Mousehole, isn't it?
Yeah, it is Mousehole. That's what I was just saying. That's brilliant, Dave.
Then it says currently the worst 6 third bottom teams are Sheffield, Histon, Kempston Rovers, Tooting and Mitcham United, Whittam Town, and Cinderford Town.
There you go. Exactly what I said. And some of them have got like 17 points, 16 points, and they're gone. It is only between the 2 or 3 clubs, Dave. It really is.
I mean, when you're a manager now or whatever, and you get in the changing room at the end of the game, you've almost got to look at like every league's games at your step, haven't you?
And I was, and you're right. And I know we've just got to deal with whatever it is, but you know, and that's what the rules were at the beginning of the season. And it's the same for promotion as well, a little bit. I know it's a bit different, but I think, you know, even if you're in Step 3, that there's something similar, Dave, in there, I think.
Yeah.
Because obviously the spare space that was created with a couple of teams pulling out and etc. It is confusing.
Yeah, I mean, with the situation down at the bottom of the North Division, of course, that you're in yourself, Steve. I mean, you know, we said at the beginning of the season, me and Keith, that we expected Barking to be up there pushing for promotion. Yes, we know they've had a couple of really bad injuries, you know, strikers, centre half as well, and so forth. But are you still surprised that they are where they are? Yeah,
I mean, I'd probably put the kiss of death on it, because one of these sort of non-league people or whatever asked for my top sort of 5 for finishing in the top. I mean, I've got Aveley and Canvey, right, but I had Barking up there, and I had Tilbury as well. I thought Tilbury would have a good...
I did as well. I had Tilbury closer to that as well, and obviously I think a lot of people, you know, were similar. Coggleshaw, I think people thought might have been around that way as well. But I was trying to explain to someone the other day who weren't having it. Well, it was maybe a month ago now, that the North Division is so strong. It is, and I know people going, "Oh, the South East is as well." You know, only the top 3 would be, and I'm like, no, I'm not having it. It is strong. You know, when you look at the playoffs, Malden, you know, and they've got Sudbury, You know, look at their run they've had in the FA Cup. You know, Haybridge Swifts, as you said, that are sitting in 11th, that have always been there and thereabouts. Bury Town, Dave, how many times we talk about Bury Town? You said Tilbury, Coggleshaw, you know, and then you look at the bulk, it's ridiculous. And then you look at who's in the playoffs, Graves, Brentwood, Stowmarket, Canvey and Averley, who you would maybe said they would be in there as well. It's a tough league, that tough league.
I mean, there'll be a lot of chairmen and a lot of managers in our division who, in my view, sort of from where we are, will have done all right, but will consider that they've underperformed. They'll be sitting down saying, look, we only came 9th this year. That's not good enough, you know, or 10th or 11th. But as you say, when you look at the teams that have finished in the, you know, there's no one that's not done well there. And I think as well, Keith, it's not just sort of the teams. If you look at the players, you look at some of those squads, you know, football web pages, you know, they announce the teams, and you look at like the Canvey squad or the Averley squad or the Haybridge Swifts, you know, there are a lot of players playing in the Isthmian North that either have or can play higher. There's some, you know,
no, it's true.
Sort of things like Sudbury having a good cup run. It's not that much of a surprise when you look at the quality that some of these teams have got. No,
but I will say that, and going back to the argument I had with the fellow about the two leagues, it wasn't. I didn't say one was stronger than the other, but when I do look, and I'm looking, Dave, if you look at the league table in the South East at the moment, you know, Whitstable Town, my club, they're sitting there bottom with 30 points. That would be nearly good enough to be out of relegation on most of the other leagues at their level. Phoenix Sports, exactly the same. Then you go into Lancing, 33, sitting in that place. Then you've got Whitehawk on 35, and maybe East Grinstead, who had the great result against Phoenix at the week, on 36, that are all just keeping their head above. You know, if you look at Whitehawk sitting fourth from bottom, you know, they were a Conference Southside a few years ago. Unbelievable. And then, like I said, that, you know, if I look in the playoff spot, and that's why I want to watch Ramsgate, Hayward Heath at the weekend, sitting there thinking, cracking game. You know, Hastings have been champions, and I think they'll do really, really well at step 3, Dave. I really do. You know, 3,000 there the other week. But sitting second at the moment is Elsie Ashford, Cray Valley sitting third on 65, Hayward Heath sitting fourth on 65. Then you've got Herne Bay on 61 with Ramsgate on 59. There's some big clubs there as well. You know, it is going to be a great end of the season in nearly most of the leagues we've got in playoffs. The Isterman Prem, as you said last week, you know, with Lewis and Cheshunt drawing at the weekend, still kept it open with Folkestone in them hunting that last position in there as well. You know, it is, and you're exactly right, Steve. When I look at football web pages, you know, I know the strength of the South East Division and how many teams and players are in there. I know the strength of the North. You said the players in there. But when you look at the Prem as well and look at the strength and depth in there, they can all play step 2 as well, most of them. You know, it's been one heck of a season.
And even the sides coming up, it's quite sort of, I say frightening, but, you know, you're probably the North's going to be strengthened by having Galston in it. It's going to have Walthamstow in it, you know, and there'll be sort of, you know, possibly another team or whatever, you know, and it does seem each year that it gets a bit stronger. And that was one of the issues that we had this season, is that when we sat down, I mean, obviously the first thing that I do is like, okay, then, being honest, who do I think we can finish above? Who are the sort of 3 teams that perhaps will finish above? And it's difficult now. There's no, you know, all right, I'll hold my hand up, but there's no free hits, really. Is it? I mean, apart from sort of, you know, our season, if you look at them, you know, as you say, Barking, if you look at the teams that Barking, well, we've only won 3 games, and one of those was against Stowmarket. You know, who are now 69 points, you know.
And a game in hand, that could win the league. It's, you know, and it is that is the way it is. It just, you know, it has made it interesting. I think this weekend for fixtures with the 2 games in a short period of time is going to be, you know, really opening it up.
With that is that, you know, you just talking about Walthamstow, but the grids that I've seen put Walthamstow, Stansted, who were sort of sitting in that sort of second position, and again, I'm going to get done for laughed at for the name of it, but is it New
Salamis? Is it or Salamis?
Yeah,
I'm quite sure how they pronounce it.
So a bit of meat on that bone.
Yeah. So those three sides were listed to be in the Southern League Central.
They could be, Dave, because like I said, we spoke to Sheppey last week, and again, congratulations, they won their cup final on Sunday again. But them and Chatham will definitely be in the South East Division, 100%, because they're middle of Kent. So that is 100%. Let's just say, for instance, hopefully the bottom two of that league get out, and say Lancing and Whitehall did slip in and get ready. That's two teams out from what you would say that could have gone into the Southern League. And so that Kent League then is, Chichester's the only one I think would move. Then you'd have or maybe even Haywards Heath if they didn't go up. Everyone else, because you got coming down possibly, and again, hopefully not, Cray Wanderers at the moment. If you went for what it was in the Prem at the moment, you've got Leatherhead. I think Cray are just sitting in that playoff place, aren't they? I thought they'd just drop in.
They're in the relegation zone at the minute.
They're in the relegation zone now. It's... God knows how someone's going to be upset in all that. Like I said, I'm hoping the local clubs that I know really well of Cray do stay up, and I know that yous will be looking elsewhere. But
yeah, and I mean, literally, I'm going to see Cray at the weekend. I'm going to go to see them play at Enfield Town. And see Andy Leese and Enfield Town get the point that they need to secure the playoffs. And but it's that sort of it's that sort of thing. It's just so close across everywhere, on every single one of the leagues, to be honest with you. And I was only talking to Paul from Ware yesterday, and if you look at the sides that suffered the most that we know of, in the over the last couple of years with COVID, was Hastings, Worthing, and probably Ware. And Hastings and Worthing have now got that just desserts and got promoted, and of course Ware are sitting in that last playoff place in the Southern League Central. So you're keeping your fingers crossed for him to try and get up as well. But Steve, with yours now going into next year, how easy is it now? With playing wise, is it a case of, because I've always wondered that with your side, the high turnover that you say you have, how difficult is it to know who's going to be turning up to pre-season training and who's going to be signing up? Is it a case of maybe the 16, 17 you may have at the moment, you'll have completely 16, 17 new names at the start of next year?
Yeah, I think we've always worked on the basis, sort of not anything to do with relegation, but we've always worked on the basis that as soon as sort of the last game of the season's finished, that's it, your squad's gone, they're no longer registered players, and then obviously what the manager will do, if you've got a manager that's sort of in situ and what have you, and Keith's probably done the same, is that over the summer, if you've built a relationship up with some of those players, you might still go and have a bonding session in June and July, or you might have a game of golf or go out for a curry, because a manager will probably highlight sort of a backbone or a spine of the team that he wants to keep. And there'll be others that he's not too worried about. If they come back, it's great. But if they don't, I can find equivalent. But there'll be half a dozen players that have played for him perhaps for 2 or 3 years that he'll want to try and keep. But with ours goes a little bit longer than that, because even when people come pre-season with us, and sometimes we've said to players before, look, we really like you, or we'd like to sign you, and they say, well, I'm training with a couple of other clubs, because obviously what they want to do is they want to go and play for somebody where there's some financial remuneration if they can. What we've got to do as a club is try and find a way of joining that band of people that are giving players something for playing, because I do understand you're paying for an expertise. I understand they're giving up a lot of time, and whatever way you look at it, whatever quality you might think you've got in your squad, if you're going to Dereham for the day, that's 7 or 8 hours out of everyone's day. Not just the manager, not just the chairman, not just the secretary, but your players. Some of those guys might be married, they might have young children. And it's a big ask, isn't it, that of somebody's weekend to actually disappear from their home life for 7 or 8 hours. Now, I understand that you might say, yeah, well, they wouldn't do it if they don't like it. But if someone's got the opportunity to either do that and be compensated, do that and not be compensated, or do it somewhere more locally, it's still a game of football, isn't it? Whether you go to Dereham or whether you go 2 miles down the road. And that's why sort of sometimes you get players that don't step up from step 5 to step 4, do you? or step 4 to step 3 because they say, oh, I don't want to do the travelling or my job doesn't allow me to do. Am I boring your dog as well now?
Me now.
But yeah, so it is difficult, but we'll go back to pre-season training. We usually have like an open training session where anyone can come along, and from that we then start whittling them down. So you do try and keep hold of players, but it's difficult.
Yeah, you're right. The pre-season thing is massive for managers, and I haven't had one for ages, and it was one of the big things. If you do get to sort of pick what you're looking for, how you want your team to play, your shape, etc. And you might get that. He's talking to me saying that I'm no good, but that's what that's what you do. That's what pre-season's for. And when you haven't got that, or you don't know where you're going, and you've got to try and rebuild, it does put you on the back foot. So it's something obviously that maybe you can look at, but you've got to do maybe quite a lot, I would say, Steve, in the aspect that you've got to now look for what league you're going to go in, what players you're going to find. I don't know what you're doing, obviously manager wise, but there's a lot of things that you've got to try and sort out before really only in about 8 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what it's like for other clubs, Dave, but we get an incredible lot of people that still want to play for the club. We're getting, and I get that it might happen at all the other clubs as well, but obviously I'm not privy to what they do. But, emails, texts, messages on Twitter, you go back and say, oh, we're not paying any money. Yeah, that's okay. Well, I just want to prove myself. Even now, getting to the stage where you're getting agents contacting you, offering you players for nothing because they can't sell them on or get any money back for them because they've got to have them on the shop floor. And I sort of say, well, I don't know why I'm talking to an agent because we're not offering any money. Oh, no. But I think that this guy is so good that if he plays for you for 6 or 7 weeks, another club will come in and they'll want him. And then I will be able to get some money. And you sort of think, well, actually, if you give me a guy for 7 weeks and he scores me 10 goals, then, I'll gladly help you move him on. So there's all different sort of places where these players are coming from. And also, Keith, I don't know if you've noticed it as well, pre-season seems to be creeping back every year. It almost used to be sort of like it's July, and you see things on social media now saying, oh, back to training on Tuesday. You think, well, I only had a fortnight off.
No, that is true. A lot do go back very early now. You are right. Just while we're on the subject, Dave, I've just had a message as well, and we do need to mention this side because they have done really well, and obviously the sponsor of the show as well. Chris McCarthy just messaged me and said, look, we've got to give a special mention to Harry Hudson since he's gone in at Sevenoaks with 5 wins and a draw. And they had a brilliant result beating Cray Valley at the weekend as well. And he's right. And obviously Paul, the sponsor of the show as well, they've got them clearing out of trouble and they have done really, really well as well.
Oh, absolutely. And you say that just shows you that new manager bounce, doesn't it? It hasn't happened too regularly, as I think in the East Mid Leagues this year, but with Harry going in there, that certainly has had a bounce, hasn't it?
Yeah, no, he's done a great job. Yeah, he is. Thanks for that, by the way. Yeah, no, he is. Good job going away tomorrow. Couldn't get what you just said there. Yeah, go back to that side in Cornwall. Anyway, no, it is no.
Sorry, on that though, how as a manager, I mean, I don't know what it was like in the other divisions, South East, but in the North, I think by November we'd had like 11 or 12 managerial changes. How difficult does that make it for a manager when because every manager will say, "Look, I need some time," well, they do because that's what managers have said to me, and I understand that. And different clubs and different chairmen will have a different view on how much time is enough. But does it make it if you get offered a job, if your next job offer comes from a club that went through 3 or 4 managers this season, or 6 managers in the last 2 seasons, does that perhaps make you think about whether that's somewhere that you want to go into?
100%. Well, for me personally, it does, because I'm not speaking out of turn. If Whitstable had told me that the job was to the end of the year or 4 months, I wouldn't have took it. You know, I've been at 2 clubs for 20 years, and longevity is a big thing. And I understand people are under pressure and they need results and they need to, you know, get out of situations. 100% get that. And there's managers that you know, even if you look in the divisions of pro football of you know, Neil Warnock and things like that have been brought in, and that's what they do. You know, Sam Allardyce and people like that they do that job. But if you're, you know, we're talking non-league, and I've been a manager that sort of likes setting up, bringing youth lads through, you know, making it so that you fall in love with and a club that you really want to be there for. You know, not just short term. And I think if you do that and you have that mentality, then the players stay with you. You know, we've done that at obviously at Thamesmead. We were trying to do something similar over at VCD. It took a while because obviously they didn't have anyone there. And you know, I would like to be at a club that you feel that is part of your family, and you can take your family there as well, and you know, feel part of it. And I understand it's a results business. You know, otherwise I wouldn't have been doing it for so long. But that is a big thing. If I looked at a club that have had 6 managers in 2 years, I don't know if I would have applied for it unless I wouldn't bother, to be honest with you, if that's the aspect. You know, longevity, stability of a club, you know, a community club is something that does interest me a lot, and because, you know, there is pressure on what you do, and I get that, and I think there's pressure on players, there's pressure on managers, and there's pressure on chairman and sponsors as well. I get every single bit of that, but the only way you do that is to build something, and you've got to be able to build something, and it does take a little bit of time. If you've got pre-season, it helps without a doubt. It still takes time for you to gel, but if you're thrown in the, you know, mid-season, you've got to either bring players out that aren't up to scratch, that don't fit what you're looking for, and hopefully you can get given that time to do that. So, just answering your question, would I take a job that's had 4 or 5 managers or 6 in the last few years? The answer is definitely no. But you know, it's got to be the right fit for you as well, I suppose.
Do we have a manager's transfer window?
Oh, if that was the case, yeah, I think I'll be on a Bosman.
I mean, in all fairness, though, it's almost like it's like that type of thing, isn't it? Sometimes, I mean, at the beginning of the season, we were talking about it, and people seem to be moving about everywhere, didn't they? It was incredible at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, and I think now, like I said, and maybe my club jumped because of what. Well, I know they did because of what Seven Oaks did, but you know, I do get the bat, and I do get staying up is massive. Continuity is that as well, and you know, I still think that if me and Steve had been at Whitstable, would have been in the same situation as they are now. We earmarked the games that we thought we could have won. People may disagree. Don't get me wrong. I think the club's done really, really well in the last few weeks, and I'm pleased as punch, and I want them to stay up more than anyone else. But you don't want the trend now that, you know, will clubs, you know, make mistakes and do that because they lose a few games and think, oh, are they going to panic as well? You know, Steve, you've been the best one at doing that. In the situation you've been in for years, you didn't do that. And you've just said the teams, you know, you got out on the last day of the season before and you stuck with the same people. I think loyalty, I've always said this as well, and I don't know what you think, Steve, to build, you know, a good club and that, you've got to back and be loyal to people, even in their darkest moments. It don't matter if that's the chairman, it don't matter if that's the secretary that's made huge mistakes, it don't matter if it's the, you know, the goalkeeper. Normally, if you back them people, they come good in the end, and that's what I think. It's no different if you're a manager either.
Yeah, I think sort of obviously that's one of the perhaps downsides of social media now, isn't it? That sort of, you know, whereas before it was a bit insular, wasn't it? I can remember the days of having to go home and sit there for 55 pages of teletext to find out how anyone else had done. Whereas now everyone's got an opinion on your club, haven't they? You know, or everyone's got an opinion on everyone else's club. You know, someone, you know, a goalkeeper makes a mistake, as you say, in the, you know, the combined Lancashire League, and by 5:10 we've all seen it and we've all got a view on it, haven't we? You know, and that's creeping into the non-league game. I mean, I think social media is brilliant. I love it, but I mean, there are also times when you look at it and think, oh, you know, that's not in the spirit. And as I say, this week, genuinely, I've been sort of, you know, to me, it's been the epitome of what non-league's been about. You know, I mean, as I said, you know, I've had some sort of memes that have made me wince, but have also made me laugh. But lots of people, it hasn't been, oh, let's everyone laugh at Romford, they're getting tonked and they've been relegated. It's been, look, we feel for you. And there's a lot of people that said, look, it could be us. Next year, it could be us. Or,
well, it was the team.
Somebody, mightn't we?
It was the team the other last month, when it that on social media got absolutely crucified that they lost 12 something. It might have been at the same level, and you're sitting there thinking exactly the same as what you just said. You lost 13 at the weekend, but over them 11 years, everyone knows, if the people, me and Dave know, the circumstances of your club. We're sitting there thinking, wow, what an achievement that they've stayed in that level for them that many, years. Not what's just happened last weekend. We've all been drubbed. I've gone down to sides over my careers. We've been absolutely ironed out. But that is football. It's a one-off game. It does happen.
Yeah, and as I say, I mean, you've got to roll with the punches, haven't you? Because there will be a time in the future when, we'll beat someone 6, 7, 8-0 perhaps, and you just think, you've got to be a bit magnanimous in defeat. You want to enjoy it, and of course, if their supporters are giving it to you, you give it back to them. But when you go in the boardroom, like the Canvey guys, two of their board came up and apologised. I said, "You've nothing to apologise for. Enjoy it, enjoy the day, because days like today." They've got the best goal difference now in the division. They wanted 3 points and to improve their goal difference, and they did that. As I say, the difference is, if it had been like the Premier League, you'd have had sort of 20,000 sort of, emails and sort of social media comments about sort of, how terrible you are. Whereas in fact, all it really does is everyone sort of say, oh, well, don't worry, move on. As someone said to me, don't worry, gravely soon.
Well, listen, guys, the time is flying by, and I just got, before we leave tonight, it's a few bits that, one sort of very funny bit that I want to talk to you about very quickly, and just get your guess on something, and a couple of congratulations, and then just one other bit I'd like to say as well. So going to watch a game at the weekend, and I was away with the missus for my birthday and anniversary and stuff, and I was going to think and try to get her to go and go for a game in Cheddar. And
bet she got cheesed off with that.
Yeah, she did. But they were playing a team called Hengrove AFC. We didn't get there in the end, but I'm just curious if you could think of what the name of what they call the name of the ground, or what their Twitter feed calls the name of their ground.
What are they called?
Cheddar FC.
The Gorge?
It's actually called the Theatre of Cheese. Believe it or not.
God, I'll tell you what, there's a bit. Did they toast that?
They'll put a bit of Worcester on it. They're not in Worcester either.
Sorry, what was that, Dave? Could you say that a bit Gouda?
Oh dear. Right, so the other thing we've got to say as well, of course, massive congratulations this last weekend, of course, to Hastings and, of course, to Worthing. Very well done to those two guys, and especially Worthing. We'll miss you going up into step 3. Step 2. So going up into step 2, so we'll miss you guys going up there. And, of course, Hastings is going to make step 3 of the Isthmian Prem even stronger than what it is at this present time. Also, as well, tomorrow night, and I see if you guys, I know we've got such a loyal fan base, but tomorrow night on the Southern League YouTube channel, a new program that we've started on there, My Life in Football. And it's a chat that we've got tomorrow night is with Jamie Heapy. He's the manager and record caps holder at Didcot. And it's a fantastic little interview with him. He talks about their FA Vars win, et cetera, as well. It's a great little chat with him. So go on to the Southern League YouTube channel tomorrow night from 7 o'clock, and you'll get to see that interview with Jamie. And, of course, there's the previous ones with Tony Gale, Keith Allen, as well. There's one coming up with Anthony as well, the vice chairman of the league as well. And then somebody that became a good friend on the show, and I know Keith enjoyed the episode when we had this young lady on. It was probably a laugh a minute, probably. I don't know about Keith, but I was aching by the time we'd finished the show, and that was Jenny Barsby from TalkSport. Literally, Jenny, from me and Keith, our thoughts are with you this weekend. Of course, you're on the anniversary, and we won't go into it because just in case you're watching, but and all our love go to you
100%.
This weekend, and keep your head up, and we'll keep in touch with you as the weeks go by. But a massive sent loads of love being sent to you this weekend. But from me and Keith, we will say a massive thank you to the legend that is Steve Gardner down at the bottom there. Of course, Stephen, listen, mate, you might be going into step 5, but you're always welcome. The door is always open for you for Romford, because you know how much we love you down there. And
thank you. I've enjoyed the show, and we've enjoyed being in the Isthmian League. And if you do an Essex Senior League special next season, I'll be there.
Happy days, mate. We wish you all the best against Averley, Whittam as well, and all the the ones coming up that you've got coming up to finish off with. Keith, of course, won't be with us next week, so hopefully we'll see if we can get he's standing with us next week. I have given her a text already, but waiting for her to see if she's back and ready to go. But for me, a massive thank you for Keith as well. Of course, always fantastic to have a chat with you, mate. Have a great holiday, and from Steve. But until next week, thanks very much for watching, and good night.